I think this is the next one. I will say. So that's.
So can you copy this and let me share?
Thanks. So you are really something else. At the three
Okay,
slides.
I should send it to.
Yes, can you send to
You copy me
your
very
phone?
well.
Okay.
Is there where you
Are
can
you
send to?
telling me?
Or is WhatsApp?
Very, very well.
What's up?
Are you
You
telling
see?
me? Because you have informal set of sex. You have to. Now, what has your of
In fact, I have to even cut off many things that you must try to reduce the slide.
I know.
But eventually,
This?
you can adapt.
Yes.
Even if you do this slide, you cannot run away from
Yeah, you
from
cannot.
other things that are already in your mind.
Because
Yes.
when I started my own, my keynote is about AI. I started, I said, if I don't link it to informal sector, which is the thing, but, it would be like it's a different.
Different lecture.
So I have to now bring it in more, but knowing that you people would, that is your people, I did it in passing, just pass through it.
If you put a note that is the first one, that is the first of the next word, the first one. The first
Anybody don't come in, don't come in here.
It was a lot more easier.
Yeah, man. I would have phoned those people on the other side, tell them that the banquet hall is here.
Okay,
Huh?
sir. All right, sir.
Because some people will go there thinking,
Particularly the security man there,
yeah,
it should be probably great that for banquet or should be direct to this building.
Okay.
this man, engineer Tony Chingwe. Yesterday about this time, he told me he was talking up in the traffic in Ikoyi. I said, where are you looking? He said, I thought I told me yesterday or that today. Ah, the stress in Lagos is something else.
Initially, I was for you yesterday.
Are you kidding me?
I thought I was 14. And I said, check myself. I need 14 to inside in my head.
Billionaire. Okay. Is that really?
I now read back your notice.
Yes, so
Your notice
it's
says 14. But 14 was already inside in my head.
Do you know the one for fourth edition, February 13th?
Yeah.
The chairman didn't come up.
He thought it was 14 or some other day.
He said they thought it was the next day or whatever. So Emeka, I don't know if you met him in the people.
No.
No, he left about 85. Emeka came in. I told him I know see chairman that if chairman if we want that chairman never come, you go there, the price of the come. That was it. Then after the lecture, after the seminar, I was like, I now processed that some of the lecture whatever. The chairman now shouted, hey, when he read it, that he thought it was the next day. So he finished apologizing. So I said, are you still here? He said, yes. So I said, okay, we will take the next turn. Now took the turn of April.
Yeah.
That's what I'm telling Oga here. That if I post certain things in the major photo, I assume people have read it. But if I import the person direct, the person will read it.
Immediately.
But
But the
if
main forum is too busy.
apparently 300, 200, depending on how many hours you have, you will get in there, you will just be good.
And you just getting there, you just be lost.
Yeah.
He's too busy.
Very, 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 very. But it's for retirees like us. Well, if I should put in this new whatever,
Yes, sir.
there are a lot of yeah.
Are you making?
It's not this one too. Show it here.
Where is it?
Reflecting. Okay, for
Let me So how would you now connect these things?
If you're not there for this one, like the other one.
Yes.
Okay, that's a picture.
Let me see. Connecting wireless.
Yeah. Yeah, that's oh boy, there now. Ah,
It's
lawyer.
with US.
The US.
POS.
Okay, POS.
POS.
B.
B for ball.
Okay.
Boss.
A legal fact.
Yes.
In Abuja or Lagos, yeah.
Yeah, in Lagos. So he traveled and went from wait for a wedding.
That's their fine. So that's when they go do it, people go flock. It was holding it.
He's trying to connect to the camera. Can you just see the presentation?
The
Or do you just do the presentation?
if that would be what I want to understand is that I thought maybe the speaker,
Mm.
this one will be capturing the speaker live.
Okay.
So the one you will be using to because the listeners, I think they will be what they will be viewing here. I
Okay.
don't really understand. Maybe you didn't get it.
I can tell you when to connect.
Normally, normally this is what I prefer using, but I
But
think
it's not
yeah,
correct.
it didn't come up. We used it last. No, I didn't use them. Yeah, that's all. Finally, yes, yes, I'm trying to. Okay.
So you can't connect this to
Uh,
So there's no slide.
No, the slide
I
should
don't
be
accept
this.
that no. Share is okay.
The one, yeah, we are trying to connect this.
Huh?
He's trying to connect this camera to the laptop.
No, I mean the
Yes.
the one you sent me, the
Yes.
link you sent.
Yes, sir.
That's it.
Yes, sir.
You are not sounding very confident.
Yes, yes. That's the
Okay.
link. With it.
Yes, sir.
That link is it.
Yes, sir.
You can change again.
No, it's
No,
not.
it
Change.
won't change.
Huh?
No,
It
it
won't
won't
change.
You are not very confident.
It won't. So this for the slide. The slide should be with
In this slide. So I can
unless
share your
you,
screen.
unless if you can install the slide now, or you can just copy it because the slide should be with you.
Which one is this slide? Did they tell you anything about slide?
No,
Oh, that means that there's
but,
problems.
but for the presentation now,
Uh,
the slide is what they will use for the presentation.
I said I'm available.
The availability in which area?
In all areas. I'm not from medical and pharmaceutical. I can do anything.
I can see, giving you a versatile background.
Welcome. Yeah, welcome on the group.
Hey, background side.
You.
yes, sir. You still ah. I was fine. Is now. So this can never see this.
What I let me connect this to the slide.
Hmm?
Let me connect this to the slide.
If it doesn't work, we'll just use the laptop.
That's all right.
So let's see.
Time is just like so using it now because this one
That means you just give the laptop. Festival. Hmm? It's rejecting the system, the camera. So you can just, yes, sir. We can use the laptop camera, but it won't really be as good.
No, is there not any other, none of them we can use for people to get it?
No, they can get in.
Huh?
They can get in.
With this?
Yes, but they will hear, but they will not see the.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, sir. So they can get in with that link. Yes.
So can we start?
Yes, sir.
So when you are ready, tell me so that we start. Huh?
Okay, sir. It's already live.
What?
It's already live.
So we can start.
Yes, sir.
Where do I? Where is it? Where? Yeah? I can see myself.
Yes, I wanted to use this as the camera, but
Well, will they be seeing now?
yes.
Are they seeing me now?
Yes, sir.
So I can go.
Yes, sir.
Are they hearing us?
But people are yet to join.
People are yet to join.
Yes.
I've already told them we're live. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
The lady has just stepped out. Time is exactly 10:15. We can't wait any longer. This a conference that we ought to have started by 9 a.m. But African time being what it is, and because it's a hybrid, um, physical and virtual, many people will decide to be at their sitting rooms, picking it up. But we have to start. Today is the 6th edition of our conference, National Tax Conference, which started on Tuesday, October 10, 2023, at Fola's Hotel and Suites, Anthony Village, formerly Barnes Hotel and Suites, Anthony Village. We've been resilient. We've been doing it every 2 months. The second edition we held at this Barnes Mall, Lekki, Lagos, on Tuesday, December 12, 2023. The first edition, the theme was new tax regime, prospects and challenges. But the keynote address which I delivered then was titled New Tax Regime, Paving the Way for the Journey Ahead. The December one, which was held in this Barnes Mall, December 12, Tuesday, 2023, the keynote address was there is a light at the end of the tunnel. The theme of the conference then was tax evasions in Nigeria. The solution is here. And it was captured because I'm an indigene of Anambra State, and our governor, his name is Soludo the Solution. We are happy that he's doing a wonderful job in Anambra State. That's by the way. The third edition was on February 13, a Tuesday. We moved back to Fola's Hotel and Suites, formerly Barnes Hotel, Anthony Village. And the keynote then was wealth taxation in Nigeria. Wealth taxation, a sustainable tool for sustainable development. Then the keynote address, which I handled, I've been handling all the keynote addresses, was titled, There is no alternative to wealth taxation in Nigeria. The government probably had a variant of that and decided recently, in the last 1 month, to tax banks in Nigeria 70% of their foreign.
Test it. No, I want to test.
Have you finished?
The audio lost.
Is it okay now?
The audio was lost.
If I use the mic with the audio call. Hello? If I talk now, will the audio be back?
Let me connect. Is the audio back?
Hello? Hello?
Okay. Okay, yeah, it's on.
It's back.
Yes. What?
Sorry for the little interruption. Technology is something else. We held the 5th edition on June 13, a Thursday, and the theme was the role of taxation in global competitiveness, a case study of Nigeria. And the keynote address, which I presented as well, was titled, "You cannot build something on nothing." You can't build something on nothing. And today is the 6th edition. We are back to the banquet hall of Barnes Mall, Lekki, Lagos, opposite Maroko Police Station by Lekki Phase 1 bus stop. And today's zone is very, very crucial. The theme is transforming the informal economy. Transforming the informal economy to the formal sector, opportunities and challenges. And the keynote address is the future of taxation, the game changer. Today's session will be moderated by a high chief from Achina, Anambra State, Chief Mark Anthony Chidolue Dike, FCA, FCTI. He was an executive director, now retired, of Federal Inland Revenue Service. And when he retired, he became a Honorable Commissioner of TAT, Tax Appeal Tribunal, Lagos Zone. But when he climbed the 7th floor in March, April this year, he equally retired. So he has joined the retiree club, very exclusive. During his heydays, he was equally the president through chairman of council, Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, CITN, as well as president through chairman of council, West African Union of Tax Institutes. That's the big gun that will moderate the occasion today as the chairman of this session. Mark, you're welcome, sir. We have 3 guest speakers. One will join us virtually, and 2 are already here. Dr. Patrick Mordelim is one of our guest speakers, and he has a chain of degrees. I don't know where to start, but let me attempt. The civil engineer from University of Lagos, they call themselves Akokites. From there, he joined Price Waterhouse in the mid-80s and qualified as a chartered accountant. He left to the banking sector, what they call greener pasture. Was in several banks. Zenith Bank, where he rose to the rank of deputy general manager in the 90s. From there, he went to UBA, United Bank for Africa, where he was equally a deputy general manager, and later to Main Street, formerly Sky Bank, that swallowed that swallowed Afribank. And you know what I normally tell people? If you want to swallow a coconut, ensure that your anus is big enough to offload it. Sky Bank swallowed Afribank, and they couldn't make it. They have been changing names to Mainstream, to blah blah blah. And I lost, as an investor, I lost a lot of money in Sky Bank because I bought their shares, and one day I woke up and I heard from the news that CBN had taken over the bank, and they ignored the investors. Anyway, When Skybank or Mainstream or whatever was checking, Patrick Modlin decided to go and further his studies and went to United States and got his doctorate, DBA, Doctor of Business Admin. But before then, when he was in Zenith or so in the North, enrolled and became a lawyer and went to law school, and he's a lawyer. He's a company now, is Modlin & Co, legal and financial consultants. Pat, you're welcome. I know I must have missed a lot of things, but it's okay. The other young man I'm seeing for the first time today, but he says he has been viewing me from WhatsApp or whatever. We are meeting physically for the first time. It's somebody I call a bookworm. After graduating civil engineering at University of Lagos, he went to do masters, 4 masters. I wonder what he's doing with all those degrees. Structural engineering, when he thought that business of construction will go down, he moved there and did a second master's in economics. When he thought that it will be blowing grammar, that he wants to join civil service, he did a third master's in public admin. And when they must have told him the pay structure, that he feels he can't cope, he did a 4th master's in business administration. So today, I got his paper yesterday, 22 slides, etc. But I said I won't read it until he presents it. So his slides are 22, Patrick's Modlin's on 33. The last paper presenter, the last guest speaker, has just forwarded his own from Ekiti. He has a farm. His name is Dr. Tunji Adeniyi. My yoga when I was in banking, All States Trust Bank, January 1991 to June 1991 at Nambata All States Trust Bank, Idumota branch, 100 Nnamdi Azikiwe Road, a 2-story building. It was my yoga. Then he had a first degree in agricultural science. Later, he did masters, just like Tony Chinwe. He went back and did another master's in business admin. So he has MSc and MBA. Later, he had a PhD in agricultural science. So today, when he will be presenting his paper, he will be interfacing, having link with agriculture and the informal sector. Tunji, you're most welcome. He's a crown prince. So when we started, it's actually, I call him permanent guest speaker here, because when I started this stuff, seminar, conferences, August 15, exactly 5 years ago, my friends were actually trying to get me out from retirement. That because I'm retired, I haven't been retired, I disturb them every day on WhatsApp. So they said I should come out and join them. So my friends organized a seminar, and Tunji just chipped in. Am I no longer your friend? Why are you not putting me as a guest, one of the guest speakers? And he was added. And since then, he has been a permanent guest speaker as a TWIA. And they will remain permanent because now, before now, he will come from Ekiti State, a day to the lecture, and sleep in his mansion in VGC, Lekki. The next day, he will go back to his subjects in Ekiti. But with now that we are on hybrid, virtual and physical, he prefers to come in and give us his speech from Ekiti, where he has a big farm. Crown Prince Tunji, You told me you'll be joining us at 10:30. So if you have joined, my salutations. Once our Oga, always Oga. Eventually, when he left us this Trust Bank, he managed Owena Bank, later transformed to Omega Bank as the managing director before he jetted to Kenya to become the managing director of United Bank for Africa, Kenya PLC. When he retired, he came back to Nigeria and became Honorable Commissioner for Finance, Budget and Economic Planning, or Economic Development, Ekiti State. He did that for about 4 years, and he thought that he can be on the driver's seat. Tried to become a gubernatorial candidate in one of the parties, but I understand that when politicians started telling him that it's not by word of mouth, but by your war chest, he scampered away. So he's now back in consulting and farming. So he'll be taking us, his paper will come later in the day. So we are having a fuller house now. Today's session is good because we are trying to get the informal sector, see how we can entice the informal sector to join the formal sector. And by doing that, the tax net will be increased and the burden on people paying taxes will be reduced. We've assembled the best, let me say it, the best hands are going to handle these causes. So without further wasting time, let me get the chairman to formally give us his opening address. Thereafter, I will give the keynote address, and the game or the ball will roll over to Patrick Modlin and Anthony Chinwe. Thank you. And those that are joining us virtually, thank you as well. My name is Chief Blake Okuli Jezie. I'm the CEO, Okuli Jezie & Co. Chartered Accountants, founded on January 1, 1994. We celebrated our 30 years about 7 months ago, but because of Tinubunomics, we haven't been able to wash it. Over time, it will be done. Thank you.
Good morning. Glad to be here, all the way from the mainland. I wish to thank Chief Blakey Okudili Jezie, for his kind invitation. Our association dates many years now, while I was still in service. And since then, he has never failed to call upon me once in a while to be part of his pro bono altruistic engagements to propagate, if I may say, the gospel of taxation in Nigeria. Particularly, I want to also thank him for this 6th Blakey Tax Summit and this particular theme that he chose, transforming the informal economy through taxation, opportunities and challenges. I believe it is well timed and would be beneficial against the backdrop of the compelling economic challenges we currently face in Nigeria. Indeed, taxation is a means of achieving the overarching goal of government, which is to provide meaningful and gainful employment to the teeming population, as well as promote economic growth and development. These two have often been used interchangeably without either of these concepts sounding any more palatable to the ordinary Nigerian. The word tax has always elicited angst and pushbacks from the ordinary businesses. Not often discussed, however, is the potential that taxation holds for the continuous support and growth of such businesses. A brief attempt of making a brief attempt to contrast these two concepts in a bid to shed some light on this discussion. But let me just step back a little bit to say, like I pointed out, by some coincidence, my contact with taxation started in my final year at the University of Ife, as it was then known, in my applied economics class, Economics 403. And my lecturer was the famed Professor Sam Aluko. And then that's where I learned some of the basic principles. The qui bono, the quid pro quo. Qui bono, for what purpose do I pay tax? And the qui bono, quid pro quo, you give, you expect to receive something back in return. And somehow, those days, of course, the various employers of labor in our days, not these days, people graduate and are looking for a job. And various employers of labor go to universities. Few that they were there to interview prospective employees, and we had that benefit. The Federal Civil Service Commission, they came to Ife, and when they asked questions, it was taxation questions that they asked me, and they all bothered on what Professor Sam Aluko thought. And then when my employment letter from Federal Civil Service came, I was posted to Federal Inland Revenue Service. As I finished my youth service, the job was already there, and I jumped into FIRS. Later on, I got other job offers, Nigerian Airways, and so on. But I said, okay, I'll stay with Federal Inland Revenue Service. So I spent my entire working career in my younger days in FIRS, and I can say it has been good. Indeed, therefore, taxation is a means of achieving the overarching goal of government, which is to provide meaningful and gainful employment to the teeming population, as well as promote economic growth and development. And these two have been interchangeably used without either of these concepts sounding any more palatable to the ordinary Nigerian. The word tax has always elicited some pushback from ordinary businesses. Not often discussed, however, is the potential that taxation holds for the continuous support and growth of such businesses. Taxation, of course, is the whole gamut of all processes for whether it's establishment, collection, and administration of taxes, providing avenues to the taxpayer for venting his grievance on any and all tax disputes before a tax administration. It also provides a glimpse as to the strategic direction of government as an economic agent through formulation of tax policy. Tax laws passed by the government gives power to the tax authorities to collect taxes. Then, of course, we talk about the tax types that they collect and which tax administration is legally allowed to collect same. Therefore, going by the foregoing, taxation is a broader concept than taxes. Taxation is a broader concept than taxes. I remember we talked about the tripod of a tax system: tax policy, tax law, tax administration. Tax policy by government, there must be, and the lawyer does not draft without receiving some instructions. So, and the government now has to enunciate some policies. The policies will now drive the tax law. And then, of course, the tax administration, the tax professionals, both on the government side and on the taxpaying side, the consultants, will now taking the policy and the law to deliver the tax and governance, all of them cooking in the pot of tax administration. Tax laws, therefore, going by the foregoing, like I said earlier, taxation is a broader concept than taxes. Used correctly, it will be used to achieve the directive principles of states, that is promoting the welfare of the citizens of the country as mandated by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. Taxation in an economy can also be discussed within the purview of the strategic direction of government, where such strategic papers like the medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal policy strategy paper, which provide government with roadmap for collection of taxes and offering incentives to the economy over a period of time. When government, therefore, realizes that tax flow is an economic flow, it enumerates policies and programs by which it intends to defend and or promote businesses, which leads to increased employment and growth. This proves that beyond the perfunctory use of taxation is also a veritable tool for fostering growth and development. Now, it's no longer news that citizens have dug deep to engage themselves in meaningful employment, such as data from studies present to us. If you look at small and medium enterprises, which make up a large chunk of Nigeria's employment, one of the several reports that are available shows that 85% of employment is informal, with the population demographics showing that 43.1% of the population between the ages of 25 to 34 years are the largest employed population in our country. The same report also shows that the multi-enterprise nature of business owners, as are reportedly own more than one stream of income. Let me just step aside and narrate one particular issue. Some years ago, there was a kind of a tax uh, enlightenment program that small and medium scale group were running across the country. And one of such was held in Benin, and which I participated. And one key issue that was thrown up was the fact that many taxpayers, small scale taxpayers, don't know how to keep their records. And that's why they continue to shout that tax is too much. They don't know. Like there's one say priest that says he has two pockets in the clothes he's wearing. In one pocket is church money, on the other pocket is personal money. But the two pockets are part of the clothes that he's wearing. So he can put his hand in any of the pockets and take money to spend. And that's the challenge when small businesses are saying that the revenue man comes and uses a shovel to scoop up all his income. We have the challenge of improper and delineation of record keeping. That's where sole business person uses his personal vehicle to run business, carries items from the house to run business. He does not separate between the business expenses and his personal expenses. At the end, I was a pioneer tax auditor in FIRS, and I was headed special investigation branch. That was the kind of challenge that we see. You see those expenses that are not supposed to be business expenses being mixed up, and they have that as a big challenge, or a problem of documentation. Now, an important point to note from a taxation perspective is how revenue earned by these businesses are used. About 68.2% utilize these revenues for feeding and meeting day-to-day family expenses. Only about 30% gets reinvested into the business. Such data points provide an opportunity for policymakers to look around, reflect what quantum of tax relief should be fused into the tax laws, as well as any incentives for promoting business growth and development through boosting the investment multiplier. In this context, I want to also reflect on the issue about personal income tax. Sometimes people confuse payee with personal income tax. Payee is just a subset, no doubt, of personal income tax. Payee has to do with those who are in employment, for which the employer has obligation to withhold tax on the emolument he pays to the employee and the report to revenue authority accordingly. But it does not now mean that the employer, as far as he is concerned, is only concerned with the emolument that he pays to you and applies the tax law to those emoluments. It has nothing to do with other sources of income that you have. We know, of course, even the public service, civil servants are encouraged to go into farming, that it is not against civil service rules. So why the employer withholds tax on the emolument? That's under pay as you earn scheme. It is a subset of personal income tax. It is you that has to make a declaration about your global emolument and then get the appropriate reliefs and then pay the appropriate tax. Now, in short, we need business-led growth riding on the back of sound and viral government policies and programs focused on allowing medium, small, and micro enterprises to be the driver of economic growth. Looking at the informal sector, we need to protect the informal sector from point of view of some of the analogies that I have made, particularly from loan sharks, such as the banks and other short-term lenders. Because these micro, small enterprises fill the employment gap, contribute to GDP, and serve as a catalyst for economic growth in our client. Micro, small, and medium enterprises should consider tapping into programs such as State Enterprise and Empowerment Program, SEEP, for accessing affordable credit to micro enterprises. If they ever wonder how to access this, They are encouraged to join a local chapter of associations such as National Association of Small and Medium Scale Enterprises, NASME. Governments, of course, prefers to channel resources through such organized and established associations rather than deal with individual enterprises. Such associations can provide information on various government grants, loans, and how to access them. Funding mismatches must be resolved. And this is the regard we talk about the chicken and egg argument. Which one comes first? Let Professor Sios Ola some years ago was talking about the seed and the tree argument. The seed grows into a tree. The tree grows the seed. We eat the fruit, but the seed germinates and grows into a tree. And he was saying that in the context of issue about capital gains tax and income tax. He said, why should we be talking about capital in the way it is glorified in Nigeria? Of course, Nigeria does not even collect any capital gains. No, who is even reporting for capital gains in Nigeria? Because of the way our capital gains is structured, the law is structured. And I will remember in a program I attended years ago, which was aspect that was facilitated by somebody from the French Revenue Authority. They structured their capital gains tax in such a way that they are not talking about the historical grandfather's son had, a building you bought for or even constructed at the cost of 50,000 naira some donkey years ago. Where you now said it, in 2024, you are talking about some, several millions. So you're looking at the historical costs of construction vis-a-vis the sales proceed, and you're having a humongous capital gains. And then there's no this indexation to inflation. And so I don't know how many entities are reporting capital gains. And even if they do, they are not doing so, faithfully and religiously. But the French did indexation. The cost that will be applied against the sales proceed is indexed, is the original cost. You do indexation 5 years backwards. 5 years backwards, and then you compare with the sales proceed. So that makes the capital gain to be more reasonable to pay, rather than the way it is structured in Nigerian system. So, do we Ishakole, the Yoruba decision for issue about tax in the Yoruba environment, our way through the informal sector, the issue about street urchins and unapproved revenue collectors that seize businesses if they do not pay. You see them all over the place. People carrying sticks, hitting on trailers and trucks. You see people wearing all sorts of uniform, collecting money for one big oga that is sitting somewhere else. The 2 naira, 100 naira, 200, 100 naira that they collect in a day is so much. And so people now tell you, why do they have to pay any other tax after they have collected all those, bits of, extortions you see on the roads. And therefore, about the there is investment in social and economic sectors, they will bolster businesses and benefit government in the long run. Wherever there is security, trained and educated citizenry, and vibrant health sector, there lies a viral and resilient populace ready to contribute their fair quota to economic growth and development. In other words, we need to build the human capital by every means necessary to bring about economic prosperity for the nation. Government needs to strengthen digital commerce platforms and ensure that businesses should be able to operate on these platforms with a minimal cost as possible. It should also ensure that it does not lose out on the revenue potential such platforms are capable of generating for the economy. Conclusion. I do not intend to engage in a treatise on impediments of taxation to the growth of the informal sector, especially if taxation is properly structured and not the way it is currently handled in Nigeria. All that I have done is to set the tone for the discourse of the team at this conference. Once again, I welcome you all to this sixth Blakey Tax Summit. I wish you all a most stimulating and fulfilling session. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you. Anytime Mark DK climbs the podium, I'm at rest because I know what he will do. He has just finished what he said is setting the tone for this conference. And he has wowed us as usual. Later in the day, I will forward his paper viral so that the press people would capture it. Dr. Tunji's paper is 22 slides. I have just received it. Engineer Chinwe's paper is 22 slides. I received it yesterday. Patrick Modlim's own is 33. That's 11, 22, 33. But my own, because I'm analog, I don't know how many slides. If you put in slides, it will be. But I have 3 papers. One is 2 pages, which I thought was small. The next one is 7 pages, which is very, very technical. And the other one is 11 pages, which is not too technical, but citing a lot of organizations, World Bank, Pricewaterhouse, KPMG, etc. What they say about AI. So probably because I want to listen to the speeches by these 2 gentlemen, guest speakers. Probably I will just read the first one of 2 pages to set the ball rolling, like our chairman said. Then I sit down, and in the afternoon, when they are done, I come to the technical one, which most of us, including me, who are not computer literate, very, very literate, will not understand. AI, the future of taxation. Let me see how we take it. Okay. The 2 pages on, so that I'll copy also as it will. So that in the afternoon, when I'm doing the other one, anybody who thinks it's very technical, like I do, will just skip it. Okay. I read. Keynote address, the future of taxation, the game changer. I say, ladies and gentlemen,
Welcome to this conference on transforming the informal sector through taxation, opportunities and challenges. As we gather here today, Thursday, August 15, 2024, at this magnificent Barnes Hall, Banquet Hall of Barnes Plaza, Barnes Mall, Lekki, Lagos. We are on the cusp of a revolution that will change the face of taxation forever. And that revolution is being driven by the game changer I want to talk about today, artificial intelligence, AI. The keynote speech will cover all the key points and the ideas on the theme of the conference, with the core message and emphasis on AI as a game changer for taxation, while also highlighting the opportunities and the challenges of transforming the informal sector through taxation. The informal sector is a significant part of our economy, and it is essential that we find ways to bring it into the formal fold. Taxation can provide a steady stream of revenue for government, reduce poverty and inequality, and promote economic growth. However, many informal businesses operate outside the tax net, and it can be very challenging to bring them into the formal sector. AI can be a game changer in transforming the informal economy through taxation. It can help identify and register informal businesses, simplify tax processes, and provide real-time tax calculations and payments. AI can also help tax authorities better understand the behavior of informal businesses and develop targeted policies to encourage formalization. For instance, the Kenya Revenue Authority's use of AI-powered system has resulted in a 25% increase in revenue collection. Similarly, the Australian Tax Office adoption of AI has improved accuracy and reduced processing time for tax returns. What about Nigeria? Nigeria is not within the radar as it were. To address the challenges, we need to develop policies and programs that support informal businesses in their transition to the formal economy. This includes providing incentives for formalization. You have to give them incentives so that they can come into the formal sector. Without it, most of them will be operating outside the formal economy. Incentives, this includes providing incentives for formalization, such as tax breaks and access to finance. We also need to invest in education, which we are doing here, and training programs that help informal businesses develop the skills they need to succeed. Moreover, it is crucial that we ensure that the quality and integrity of data using AI-powered tax systems are high. Biased or inaccurate data can lead to flawed outcomes, perpetuating existing inequalities. Therefore, we must prioritize data validation and verification processes. Furthermore, we need to address the issue of tax evasion. Tax evasion rings bell all over. We need to address the issue of tax evasion and avoidance. For the non-initiated, tax evasion is outright violation of the tax laws. But tax avoidance is using people like Pat Modlem and our Honorable Chief to find ways, loopholes in the tax laws to circumvent it. Those are not illegal, but they are immoral. This can be done by increasing transparency and accountability, as well as using technology to track and monitor tax payments. Transforming the informal economy through taxation is a complex task. it's not a ABC. It's very, very complex. But with the help of AI, we can make it more efficient, effective, and equitable. Let us work together to create a better future for all. AI can also help to identify and register informal businesses, simplify tax processes, and provide real-time tax calculations and payments. It can also help tax authorities better understand the behavior of informal businesses and develop targeted policies to encourage formalization. But AI is not just a tool for transforming the informal sector. It is also a game changer for the future of taxation. With AI, we can create a more efficient, effective, and equitable tax system, a system that uses tax-driven insights and expertise to identify tax evasion and avoidance, and use machine learning to optimize tax revenue. However, we also have to acknowledge the challenges and limitations of AI taxation. These include 1. Job displacement. A lot of people will be thrown out of the job. AI may automate certain tasks, potentially displacing jobs in the tax sector. The second one is bias. AI can perpetuate existing bias if they are trained on biased data. Privacy concerns. AI-powered tax system may raise concerns about data privacy and security. To address these challenges, we need to develop policies and programs that support workers who may be displaced by automation, ensure that AI algorithms are transparent and fair, and implement robust data protection measures. So AI is not just what we have in Meta, etc. in the WhatsApp. It's a set of computers that would assist the tax authorities to really up their game. Get informal sectors, the informal operators, to formalize. I'm not dwelling much on informal sector and formal sector distinctions now, because the two gentlemen here will handle it very, very creatively, so that we see the differences between formal and informal. Most formal sectors are big organizations quoted on the stock exchange and other organizations that have a limited liability status. Though these days, some people will have a limited register their company and still operate outside the tax net. But those are the things AI will cover. Have a linkage with CAC, Companies and Company Affairs Commission, Abuja, so that they can track any company that is registered and use it to get hold of them. But it's not an easy task. The opportunities. Okay, to address these challenges, we need to, okay, I've done that. The opportunities are vast, but so are the challenges. We need to address the issue of job displacement, bias, and privacy concerns. We need to develop policies and programs that support informal businesses in their transition to the formal economy. And we need to invest in education and training programs that help informal businesses develop the skills they need to succeed. Transforming the informal sector through taxation is a complex task, but with the help of AI, we can make it more efficient, effective, and equitable. Let us work together to create a better future for all. In conclusion, let me reiterate the core message. AI is the game changer for taxation. Let us harness its power to create a more efficient, effective, and equitable tax system. A system that uses data-driven insights and expertise to promote economic growth, reduce poverty and inequality, and enhance taxpayer experience. Together, we can create a better future for all. As I reflect on my own journey, I'm reminded of a personal story that illustrates the power of striving for excellence. I normally use this to raise my shoulder. In 1995, I treated myself to a brand new Volkswagen Santana to celebrate my qualification as a chartered accountant. The first from Ebwema Ozobolo and the third from the entire Ozobolo and Abo Kingdom in Anambra State. The car's tagline was, "There is nothing more to add." For me, that has become a mantra. When you are large, you are large. Just like my Santana car, which was a symbol of hard work and dedication. Let us strive for excellence in our own endeavors. Let us embrace the opportunities presented by AI and work together to create a future where taxation is no longer a burden but a catalyst for growth and development. A future where tax-driven insights and expertise come together to create a more inclusive, efficient, and equitable tax system. Thank you. That's the summary of the paper I will be presenting in the afternoon, because we have to really delve into this AI. Thank you. I remain yours. Truly, but this is just a scratch, so that you people, because if I start now, it might take 2 hours, and you people will not be able to hold the audience. Okay? Leo, you want to come and do something? Come.
Okay, sorry for the break transmission. Our next presentation after my welcome address and those opening remarks is to invite our first keynote speaker for today, Dr. Patrick Monday, to talk on transforming the informal
Good morning, Chief DK and Chief Okudili PJC, alias Dombi. Good morning, audience, my colleagues. Today's topic, we're looking at transforming the informal sector, the informal economy through taxation, opportunities and challenges. In my presentation, you might find the word economy and sector being mixed. They actually mean the same. So sometimes when you find the economy, you mean informal economy. Actually, can say it's informal economy, informal sector, informal economy. So this topic, we'll take this topic in 3 sections. Section 1, we look at definition of informal economy. Section 2, looking at the question, should taxation in informal economy be given priority? Section 3, we're looking at policy options for taxing firms in the informal economy. Section 4, we're looking at how to improve taxation of firms in the informal economy. 5, we're looking at making informal economy taxation work. Section 6 will be conclusion. Definition of informal economy. International Labour Organization 1972 defined it as small and micro enterprises, as those enterprises outside the purview of government regulations. That is business in subsistence economy. The term also can be used as a duality, where we say use it in opposition to the formal economy, that is informal economy, the opposite of formal economy. The other side of it, that is not formal economy, is informal economy. So the idea is to distinguish economy based on businesses and their degree of rationalization or embodiment of impersonal principles of social organization. Hart 2005. ILO in 2019 defined informal economies as all economic activities by workers and economic units that are in law or practice not covered or insufficiently covered by formal arrangement. Businesses in a developing economy like Nigeria is a continuum of firms, types, from the most informal, subsistence type of activities to the most formal, registered with Corporate Affairs Commission, their tax-paying and law-abiding businesses. Businesses often move along this continuum, some seeking formalization, others falling into informality, depending on the cost-benefit analysis of being in one category or the other. Businesses in the informal economy can be classified into 3 major groups, namely subsistence enterprises. These enterprises are not normally liable to tax. Informal, small and micro enterprises. These enterprises may be subject to specific informal economic targeting regimes. And then the small and medium firms. These firms are large enough to be in standard tax net, but many are not. For the purpose of this discussion, we'll focus on small and micro businesses that generate enough income to warrant taxation, but find it easy to escape the attention of the tax administration or to conceal a substantial part of their liability for tax because of their location, size, or nature of their businesses. In Nigeria, the process of formalization includes registering with Corporate Affairs Commission, registering with all regulatory authorities for the particular field of practice, and then registering with the relevant tax authorities. Now, having discussed what informal economy is all about, let's look at should we give taxation in the informal sector priority. Should taxation in the informal economy be a priority? taxation in the informal economy in developing countries like Nigeria is receiving increased attention as governments seek means of raising revenue to fund its numerous programs. This reflects a growing recognition of the potential benefits of informal economic taxation in terms of revenue, growth, and governance. The direct revenue benefits of taxing the informal sector are likely to be relatively modest, and the implication for vertical equity potential adverse. As such, much of the argument for taxation of the informal sector is grounded on the following. One, potentially more indirect revenue benefits, the prospect of accelerated growth, and the potential for governance gains. Revenue and equity implication. Individual incomes within the sector are low, as in the informal sector. Tax rates are relatively modest, while costs of collection and overall administrative burden are high, owing to large number of individual firms and the challenge of monitoring. Operators of firms in informal economy are frequently low incomes, thus making taxation of such firms potentially regressive, and often accompany risk of coercion and corruption by tax officials. In practice, taxation of informal economy firms will yield modest revenue in the short term, but serves to bring these firms into the tax net and ensure higher tax compliance if they expand over time, thus building a culture of tax compliance among SMEs. Some tax practitioners have argued that the failure of informal firms to pay taxes might actually lower the tax morale and discourage tax compliance among larger firms who might view tax as unfair to them, leading to reduced government revenue. And look at the implication for growth. Taxation of informal sector economy, taxation of informal sector firms may hinder growth, i.e., job creation and poverty reduction, long-term economic development, and development of a larger tax base over time, which may far outweigh the revenue benefits. The informality carries a variety of costs to firms and preclude access to certain opportunities available to formal firms. Some tax experts have argued that formalization, of which entry to TaxNet is a central component, have significant benefit for growth, or at least may not hinder growth. Benefits of formality include greater access to credit, increased opportunities to engage with large firms and the government, reduce harassment by police and municipal officials, and access to broader training and support programs. Some firms still opt for informality, despite this benefit outlined above, and this suggests that there are barriers and burdens of formality, and that the potential benefit of bringing firms into TaxNet is likely to be dependent on the particular features of how this goal is achieved, and that any cost and benefit are likely to vary across firms. Studies have also shown that firms in formal economy tend to grow faster than firms in informal economy. But such studies have often failed to distinguish between the firms that grew fast because they are formal and firms that opted to be formal because of perceived growth prospects. So that's an issue for further research. Benefit of formalization may be smaller for micro businesses because business interests of small firms are different from large firms. For example, many micro businesses are operated by individuals who are not entrepreneurs, but who are doing something while waiting for an opportunity to enter salary jobs, or who are running micro businesses in parallel with paid employment in order to supplement income. We'll agree in this current economy, it's difficult for one to rely solely on salary. Those who are in salary employment, it can't take you home if you rely solely on it. So many people do some moonlighting to make up, to balance their accounts at the end of the day. Hence, expanding business may not be central motivation to this category of people. Formalization is more likely to be irrelevant and potentially costly. If such people go and formalize their businesses, they'll be brought out in the open. They can lose their formal job. Feisenberg et al. 2009 found that paying taxes constituted a benefit, which include access to new opportunities for all firms, whether they were caught or willingly compliant, leading to increased profits. We'll now look at governance implications. Payment of taxes by firms in the informal economy may promote good governance and political accountability of the state. Researchers have suggested that tax payment contributes to broader governance gains through three related channels. First, the state may encourage voluntary tax compliance by being more responsive and accountable to groups that pay taxes. Secondly, individuals are more likely to demand for responsiveness and accountability if they are paying taxes, and thus fostering a sense of ownership over government activities. Third, efforts to tax informal sector operators may encourage collective action and collective political engagement by informal economy associations, thus providing a longer-term foundation for expanded bargaining. These potential connections suggest that expanded taxation of informal economy, if pursued in a comparatively contractual manner, would be key to expanding political voice among relatively marginalized groups. Now look at policy options for taxing the informal economy. Cost-benefit analysis of taxing informal economy leads to disagreement on how much priority it should be given. Hence, the need to consider alternative policy strategies for taxing the informal economy. Three broad policy strategies for taxing the informal economy. Informal economic firms include: 1. Taxing indirectly through trade taxes. 2. Expanding the reach of major taxes in the formal economy to the informal economy. 3. Developing specialized presumptive tax regimes. We'll take this in more details. Taxing the informal sector indirectly. Firms in the informal economy can be taxed indirectly by taxing the goods and services it buys and sells through VAT, import and export duties. Firms in the informal economy are not themselves registered as taxpayers, but are taxed by virtue of taxes paid on goods and services higher up the value chain, though less than would be the case if they were registered. The revenue forgone is likely to have a limited impact on long-term compliance and does not carry the potential good benefit of formalization, and also unlikely to spoil governance gains, since the individual taxpayers here are not known. The tax they pay doesn't come in their own name. This form of taxation does not require any active participation, like filling tax returns by the firms in the informal sector, and so does not come up against the difficulties of high compliance costs or limited educational capacity. Second option, extend the reach of major taxes in the formal economy. We can extend the reach of taxes such as income tax and VAT that is applicable in the formal economy firms to small firms in the informal economy by strengthening enforcement who identify and register the small firms in the informal economy and ensuring compliance, which may be buttressed with the use of additional incentives such as reduced rates or reward to small firms that maintain records. You agree with me? Many small firms don't maintain records. They don't maintain good records. Some would be because of lack of education or lack of finance to employ qualified people to keep records. So records are poorly kept. Establishment of a relatively high threshold for VAT and income taxes so as to include small and micro businesses which are captured by a presumptive tax regime. This is the government currently implemented in the Finance Acts of 2021, where some threshold was set. If you have a turnover of less than 25 million, you don't bother about income tax. But if you have 25 million and above, you should file your returns. Use of withholding taxes, which is similar to taxes, which is similar to indirect taxes, though these taxes are treated as advance payment on income tax for tax compliant firms. This is actually an incentive for non-compliant firms to become tax compliant, because you pay withholding tax, you don't have no further benefit on it if you're not tax compliant. In other words, you're not registered. But if you're a registered taxpayer, that withholding tax has a tax an advance against your income tax. So this is an incentive to encourage informal economy firms to become formal. And the next one is the presumptive taxes. Taxing of firms in the informal economy is hindered by two major factors, namely high compliance costs for small taxpayers and high cost of collection for tax administrators. Presumptive tax may be applied to small firms because of these two hindrances. These taxes use a simplified indicator of the tax base, i.e. profit or value added, in order to simplify record keeping for firms and the estimation of tax liability by tax collectors. Options for presumptive taxation include use of cash accounting rather than accrual accounting. The challenge is not small firms keeping simple accounts, but actually getting them to share such records. Use of some other financial measures as tax base, for example, turnover or gross assets as a basis for tax in the informal sector. Use of non-financial indicators of tax liability, for example, floor area or number of employees. If you go to a small firm in the informal sector, you check the number of employees they have, you can use that to estimate how much tax they should be paying. Because the number of staff that you have is an indication of the volume of business you are doing. Also, the area, the floor area of your business also indicates the volume, even though it might not be very exact. So, but these are simplified ways of making the informal firm pay tax. The use of tax base that is closer to the generally applicable tax base improves horizontal equity and reduces any incentive for a firm to stay in a presumptive tax regime once they have developed necessary skills to comply with standard tax regime. Tax base that is simple to measure, such as number of workers, reduces the compliance burden on the firm and makes liability easier to check for the tax administrator. Presumptive tax regime often provide incentives for firms not to graduate onto standard regime when they are able to, and larger firms making themselves appear small. Rules have to be formulated to prevent abuses and artificial splitting of businesses in order to get below the threshold. The risk of undertaxing firm as well as overtaxing firm exists in presumptive tax regime. For example, firms with small profit margin using turnover-based taxes may usually overestimate their profitability. Go to the fourth section. The fourth section, we're looking at how do we improve taxation of firms in the informal sector. Progress in taxing the informal economy has been slow, partly due to challenge of locating and taxing very large numbers of small firms who are themselves eager to evade the tax net, and partly due to lack of commitment of political leaders and tax administrators with little incentive to focus more resources on taxing the informal economy, largely because of the large number, and the tax administrators are often driven by volume. So they would rather go for the big one that give them 100 million than focus on the small that probably give them 500,000, 100,000. So strategy for encouraging tax compliance in the informal economy firms includes: 1. Strengthening firms' incentives, capacity, and collective action. 2. Strengthening political and administrative commitment. Let's look at it in details. Strategies for strengthening firm incentive, capacity, and collective action to encourage small firms in the informal sector to enter the tax net can be broken into 3, namely: 1. A cost-benefit approach to tax compliance, an empowerment of small firms. 3. Collective action and state-society interaction. We take all this in more details. A cost-benefit approach to tax compliance. Firms in the informal economy will voluntarily enter the formal economy and the tax net, depending on if their benefits from formalization outweigh their cost. Cost of formalization include time and resources taken in registration or getting licenses, cost of compliance, and the cost of following labor laws and other regulatory requirements. Benefits include access to credit and capital markets, government procurement contracts, other external markets, and state-provided services and facilities. and of course, avoiding the cost of informality. The cost of informality includes bribes you have to give to various government officials. Sometimes you have to render free services and frequent relocation, because these small staff have to be frequently moving from one place to the other to avoid taxes. So these are all part of the benefits we enjoy if you become formalized. Low perceived benefit of formalization. Limited growth ambitions and low trust in government leads them to avoid formalizing, even if it has no initial cost. Empowering small firms. Informality is also a function of empowerment, and firms can be informal because of capacity limitation, such as illiteracy, limited skills, and transience of their businesses, uncertainties, and prevalence of cash transaction. 2. Enabling environment, including a general lack of trust in government and lack of easy access to a range of services, including information, accountancy, security, justice, and insurance. The implication of this limitation includes there's a need to adopt tax regime that is consistent with characteristics of informal firms, which illustrates lack of trust and information, and a need to supplement business environment reform policies with other policies to suit the needs of the small firms in the informal sector. The policy canvas includes securing property rights, which is a major cause of transience, improving security, and establishing dispute resolution mechanism and affordable accounting services. Micro business owners may view taxation as one step towards empowerment and legalization, and towards escaping arbitrary harassment and injustice. The third, look at the collective action and state-society interaction. The decision to be tax compliant or not is influenced by the nature of interaction between the state and the firms within the informal economy, and collective action within the firms in the informal economy. The formalization policies need to acknowledge and address 3 strategic problems, namely information, credibility, coordination. On information, the states need to adopt strategies that focus greater attention on outreach and taxpayer services, as many intended beneficiaries in the informal economy are unaware of programs of government targeted at supporting and empowering them. Credibility. These firms in the informal sector need assurance that government will uphold their part of any bargain they have entered into, such as reduced tax rates or provision of benefits. If this firm formalizes, as fear of predation is a significant deterrent to successful formalization policies. The issue of credibility is a recurrent theme in tax policy implementation and is key information of autonomous revenue agencies. 3, coordination. Firms will formalize if they can be relatively certain that a critical mass of competitors will also do so. The success of effort to tax the informal economy is dependent on collective action and state-society interaction. Number 2, we earlier identified that the political and administrative commitment is part of the thing that required for people to actually look at informal sector taxation. So we look at the second point in that, which is, in practice, government and state actors often face weak incentive to make taxing the informal economy firms a priority. Why does it that the government and state actors not find it very attractive to tax the informal sector, or not make it a priority? To make it a priority, progress will depend in part on strategies to build support for reforms in terms of strengthening incentives for political leaders and strengthening incentives for the administrators, that is tax administrators. Strengthening political incentive to pursue reforms. Informal economy taxation may promote public engagement and broader governance gains, while attractive from social perspective, is not a strong inducement for government, as they would rather avoid such public mobilization. A very good example is in Anambra State. The government of Soludo has introduced a number of tax reforms, and the people as he employed to collect those taxes are so aggressive. So the people are mobilizing against Soludo government, even though his government is doing well. But the way they are going about this taxing the individuals, a lot of individuals are mobilizing. So, but he's still going about doing his business because, according to him, government programs must be executed and they need money. It is actually in the interest of politicians to keep the informal economy informal as a captive source of votes. Once formalized or provided with full benefits, politicians lose their hold over these groups, who are then free to vote as they want. Individuals who are in business will not want to vote someone who increase their tax burden. So anybody that will lessen their tax burden will be a darling of voters. And government needs money to carry out their programs. And this money, they have to find somehow. So there must be a balance. Government may give greater priority to taxing the informal sector when it enjoys greater buy-in from the informal economy firms themselves. How can government enjoy buy-in? You can enjoy buy-in by carrying them along, by discussing with them on your programs, on what those taxes will be used for. Getting the buy-in from the informal economy firm may shift the political balance for politicians seeking to build support for taxing the informal economy, and thus secure greater revenue, increase growth, and potentially more productive state-society interaction. Now, strengthening the administrative incentive to pursue reform. Tax administrators have weak incentives to prioritize taxation of informal economy because revenue gains are relatively modest, and collecting taxes and enforcing compliance among small firms is very demanding task with little reward. Hence, any reform strategy must pay attention to incentives for administrators to buy into the reform. When I say administrators, I mean tax administrators, to buy into the reform and could take huge range of forms as follows. Segmental organization of tax administration with specialized unit for small, medium, and large taxpayers with a more diverse performance benchmark with informal tax collection better rewarded and more conducive to future development. You know, in our people always reward performance and performance. How do we reward tax administrators? By the volume of tax they collect. If you want people to focus more attention to the informal sector, you have to lower that performance for them when you come to the informal sector, because they can't get the kind of volumes they get when they are dealing with the large corporates. A single large corporate can even pay a tax of 1 billion, but you can't get that in small firms. Sometimes you struggle so hard to get 250,000 naira. So you must change the performance metrics. Use of technology to facilitate informal economy taxation by making banking system accessible to very small firms and make the work of collection less unattractive and painstaking for frontline tax collector. What we are saying here is use of technology. You know, most of our tax collectors, they go to these taxpayers. Many times they overtax them. And then they come and discuss and settle. Pay a small fraction to the government and a bigger fraction to themselves. They write off the big amount they have assessed. So use of technology to reduce this interaction between the frontline tax collectors and the taxpayer. Centralize elements of informal economic taxation to local governments. Because the informal economy, the central government, which is federal government, might find it very difficult to cover. You can actually see that to local government who are actually more on ground and closer to these informal firms. Section 5. Look at how do we make informal economic taxation work. We can improve taxation of the informal economic demand. Improving taxation of the informal economy demands technically appropriate policy choices and broader administrative and institutional reform strategies that can generate both greater acceptance among taxpayers and leadership among political and administrative actors. We look at some recent administrative reform and their potential alternative trajectory for making informal economic taxation work. 1, reorganizing tax administration as segmental organization. Associational taxation, which actually grouping, identifying grouping taxation. 3, emphasizing transparency, service and engagement. 4, ceding control to local government. And 5, auctioning tax collection rights. Reorganizing tax administration as segmental organization. Reorganizing tax administration to strengthen monitoring and provide more focused incentive for administrators to target small firms. One way you can do that is trading areas can be mapped and divided into blocks on the basis of geography, administrative boundaries, or a few streets. Each mapped area or block is mandated to operate all the tax functions of identification, registration, assessing, and accounting for revenue collected. Each area so mapped is allocated a team of staff with relevant skills to perform this function. door-to-door visits are made to ensure all eligible taxpayers are registered. Each team will then set a target for revenue collection with presumptive taxes used for assessment purposes. Associational taxation, i.e. identifiable grouping taxation. Associational taxation, here the focus on nurturing effective collective action within the informal economy, coupled with the creation of institutional channels to facilitate bargaining and cooperation between the informal economy associations and the state. Association of identified groups within the informal economy will now be charged with the duty of identifying their members, collect income tax from their members, and hand over the revenue collected to revenue authorities, and for their efforts, probably receive a fixed percentage. Here, the individuals making tax payments are not visible to the state and thus are protected from the imposition of more taxes and regulation by government. These identifiable groups are often not internally democratic and they can extract revenues from members without necessarily handing over collections to revenue authority. We find this common among, we have NU, RTW, all these people handling transport, where people they collect money, taxes from the transporters, sometimes on a daily basis on behalf of government. That's an example of an associational tax. But disadvantage of associational tax include large enterprises could avoid paying their full tax liability by claiming to be within the identifiable group, and of course taking over the presumptive taxes. In other words, what are we saying here? Even though they have this NURT, which is supposed to organize smaller transporters and they can collect, but you have bigger transporters like Young Shall Grow, are not more developed. Those ones should come and claim under NURT and pay the same tax as those small buses are paying because they are bigger. How was saying here? 3, emphasizing transparency and service and then engagement. The focus here is on fostering voluntary compliance by emphasizing transparency, taxpayer services, and engagement. For informal economy, taxation to be either technically or politically feasible, it is imperative to foster quasi-voluntary compliance among small firms. The first step is to focus on transparency, particularly establishing clear links between tax payments and the provision of public services. And this can be expected running from transparency about overall revenue collection and public expenditure to more explicit forms of tax earmarking, wherein specific taxes are allocated to specific particular purposes. When we say transparency, many people here may not be willing to want to pay tax to government. Why? Because they can't see the service they are getting from government. And what they see people in government collect these taxes, they use it to fund extravagant lifestyle. And if you see them do that, I'm sure nobody wants to pay taxes. So the government should give up to you, because taxes are not just collected to run government. Government are meant to be run for the benefit of individuals that pay those taxes. But where taxpayers are seeing government as being run by people who are after their own comfort, they will not be willing to pay tax. In fact, you have to practically force them. If they can escape taxation, they won't pay tax. If they can avoid it, they will not avoid it. Nobody will really come and pay tax. But however, if we are seeing what the government is doing with this tax, and it's in our own interest, people are more willing to come out and pay tax on their own position. So more explicit earmarking has the advantage of building stronger trust among taxpayers by delivering well-defined benefits. It's advantage of reducing, of course, it's advantage of reducing budget flexibility and create an expectation of taxes being on a fee for service basis rather than a broader conception of public good. What we're saying here is that if the government are more transparent and say, for example, they come to one market and they divide it, you pay your taxes, you can rebuild this your market, provides you with public toilets, public water, light, with infrastructures. I'm sure they'll be more willing to be paying their rent taxes. But what if you go to a market where there are no public toilets, there's no light, that everybody runs on generator? If you tell them about paying tax, they will tell you for what? They will ask you for what? But if government says, for example, if you pay your taxes, you see your taxes at work, and they give example, say, I will build your market, I'll provide you with electricity. Everybody more willing to pay tax, and the only see government living up to their words. Revenue authorities should also seek to encourage the development of informal economy associations, negotiation, taxpayer education programs, and dialogue between the state and informal economy firms. We are saying that revenue authorities they should see the informal economy operators as partners that should be engaged and see the need to pay their taxes. Four, ceding control to local government. Reorganization of tax administration by ceding the collection of taxes from informal economic firms to local government. Local government already levy significant taxes, and extending their responsibility may encourage voluntary compliance and thus strengthen the political and administrative commitment to taxing firms in the informal economy. Local government need the revenue sources for provision of services for the informal firms, with possibility of using such revenue to improve services for the informal firms, thus increasing the likelihood of compliance. 5, auctioning tax collection rights. Another strategy for strengthening taxation of informal economy firms is privatization of tax administration, with individual firms bidding for tax collection rights and retaining any additional taxes above what they bidded. In principle, privatization provides clear incentives for maximization of enforcement and collection, but in practice, it is prone to corruption and doing little to encourage negotiation, voluntary compliance, or more productive interaction between the state and society. This strategy will deliver revenue gains when well managed, but in practice, overzealous tax collection as a result of excessive incentive for the tax collector may lead to resentment and even riot amongst the population, which might outweigh the increased revenue. Many local governments are actually doing this already. You know, this tax they collect from freight forwarders, all these transporters. Most of them have outsourced it to private firms to help them collect. You find them when you are driving on the roads. Some of them are so vicious. They call all manner of things just to extort money from you. But it's working for them. Just that sometimes it's open to corruption in the sense that the tax administrator might estimate that for this so they expect to realize about say 100 million. They will ask the private firm to quote 60 million. Of course, the 40 million excess will be shared between them. So the government is actually losing. That's the corruption we're talking about here. In conclusion, taxation in the informal economy should be accorded greater priority than has historically been the case. Though the potential benefit of this taxation as against the cost warrants additional research as to the magnitude of this cost and benefits and their distribution across population groups. Taxing the informal economy firms is important to build tax morale and a culture of tax compliance within the economy. Also important for economic growth by encouraging growth of small firms and to spur collective action and bargaining. Further research is also required into the potential for informal economy taxation to spur broader investment in state-related capacity. Policy options for effective informal economy taxation identified include taxing indirectly, directly, and of course, presumptive tax regimes. To translate growing interest in taxing informal economy into better outcomes in practice requires focus on the interconnected challenges of expanding quasi-voluntary tax compliance and strengthening political and administrative commitments to reform. Studies have shown that reducing cost of compliance and formalization can help, but not enough to transform outcomes. Two questions arise, which represent direction for further research and policy. Namely, what type of positive inducement to tax compliance, such as access to credit and training, greater security to property, or protection from harassment by police and local officials, are most important to small firms? How can states and government promote collective action among informal economy operators and provide institutional channels for bargaining with them in order to build trust and encourage tax compliance? To make informal taxation work, two suggestions were made. First, adoption of policies aimed at increasing the benefit of voluntary tax compliance by addressing the needs of informal economy operators. Make reform more politically feasible and attractive. Secondly, efforts to foster effective collective action among informal sector associations and open up institutional channels of negotiation may help expand the tax base. The administrative and institutional reform related to collection of informal economic taxes may not only address narrow administrative shortcomings, but also generate positive incentives among taxpayers, political leaders, and administrators alike. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Sorry. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Bodlim. Somebody would say that it's going to be a tough act to even attempt to capture all that we have said. This is quite a loaded presentation. And it will be very, I may not be doing much justice if I say that I've started summarizing all that we said. But I think the key planks of your presentation, looking at it, what exactly do we mean by informal economy? Because we're talking about micro, small, and medium. I will remember, even in FRS, which of course you alluded to, at a point in time, when I joined the service, we were operating as a jack of all trade structure, operating a jack of all trade structure. On your docket, you are dealing with printing and stationery, clearing and forwarding, trading companies, chemical and allied. They will all be on your docket. And then issue about benchmarking became extremely difficult. Without blowing my trumpet, I said that I was the one in 1990 that proposed my then boss that later became chairman, Dr. J.K. Naiju, that especially after I did my final inspector of taxes course in 2000, middle of 2000, we started dealing with petroleum, taxation. And I remember the famous case of Mobil Oil that went right up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled against Mobil Oil because the tax authorities at Petroleum and Pioneer found out that all the related competitors in the downstream sector had recovered from their losses during the Civil War in the Eastern region. How come that many years after, they were still reporting losses and were not paying tax? So the FRS raised turnover assessment on them, and they objected. I think went right up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court found against them that why are you still reporting losses? And it was possible because you can benchmark, because you are in the similar line of trade. But when a situation where you are dealing with a clearing and forwarding, printing and stationery, trading companies, all of them are unrelated entity. So each case you are dealing with in your docket, you try to struggle to actually determine why a particular expense should not be allowable. And I also remember issues of talk about risk averting management and risk-taking management. I remember those days, you talk about the KPMGs then at Anderson. Their rule, and the oil companies, their rule was that none of their staff would ever fly any other airline other than Aero or Arik. They don't fly all those Chachangi and the rest of them, Savannah Airlines. They said, and if you have to move, land at the airport, you don't take an unknown tax. Take registered taxi to move from the airport. Those are all issues about structural issues. So when you now look at cost, such entities incur, and try to benchmark it with anyhow, another company that is anyhow, incurring expenses, it becomes treating apples and oranges. They cannot be the same. So it is a critical issue for effective tax administration that things are done right. When revenue officials come, you also have issues about risk-taking. Not every entity wants to take the kind of risk. We want to evaluate what is likely to come out. Yes, they can dream dreams and then now visualize that the reward will be high. And it depends on how you can evaluate the risk that is involved, and you take that risk and ready to swim or sink with the risk you take. So these are issues about business, and I want to believe that at least from the revenue side, even though there are no more there, but at least we try. These are part of things that we try to start doing. And there are things where, if you talk about trying to dig a borehole, you don't know whether water. You have to dig, and at the end of the day, spend so much cost, and it becomes a dry hole. As you do so for water, so it is too for even crude oil. You do all your seismic studies, and then it tells you that there's likelihood to be crude oil. Then where exactly in the whole of this compound is the crude oil? You can dig there, and there will be dry hole, and the costs are being incurred. So these are critical issues also for businesses, and you've given us so much, Dr. Modlin, in this presentation today, and I think it's a treatise and that needs to be developed into a handbook for small business owners. Like I told you that people don't even know. They do business, but they don't structure how they run their expenses. And at the end of the day, when the taxman comes, they will start running from pillar to post, trying to defend the indefensible. And at the end of the day, they say that they are being overtaxed. They are being overtaxed because they have not structured their businesses properly and try to capture the expenses that should be captured. Some of them will be lost because they don't capture them. The issue about, I think, which is a good thing that you mentioned, what is it, presumptive taxation. I think that's an issue that came up into Nigerian tax lexicon in the early 2000s, presumptive tax, and which has not started happening so much very well, other than with the VAT introduced by the Finance Act of 2000. We started talking about, turnover of 25 million and all that. I think that's even the first time some steps have been taken to bring something that's similar to that presumptive tax system. And you prefer solutions. It's quite so many of that you preferred. And we talk about issue about mapping of areas of jurisdiction. Okay, that's associational taxation, identify business associations, and use them as agents of revenue collection. I remember way back in 1993, when VAT was first introduced, we tried to leverage. Ghana started VAT about the same time as Nigeria, and the issue about using the market associations as agents for collection, given the informal nature of most businesses, was not very much favored in Nigeria as at that particular time. But over time now, becoming very, very clear that for us to be effective in having wider and deeper penetration of tax compliance, we need to go through that route. Because if say catch me if you can, if you start waiting for, because at the end of the day, everybody telling you, what tax are you talking about? Is it the Olopa tax, the Aboro tax, the council chairman tax? That's all, they're all taxes. Are you talking about the borehole that I've dug in my own compound? Are you talking about maintaining the street from which, which we have to access to get to the third route? So there are so many. One Indo-Kenyan lady at the program we attended in Harvard years ago was talking about informal taxation. or what she called the African taxation. And African taxation goes even beyond all this. It is issue of extended family. As you live in Lagos, there are people who are thinking that you are just, picking the money on the streets. They expect you to be sending money to them. But these are people. I remember one old auntie. My dad trained the children, and then she, at her age, was still expecting me to be giving her money. But right beside her, she harvested her maize. There was plantain beside her. There was which other one? Obaka. We call it Obaka. The Oba. All of them were just with her there, and she was stretching her hand. They said, "Make I give her money." And he knew that in a city where I live, that the plantain, is not poison for me. She couldn't even give me one. I was forced to tell her that for how many generations, my grandparents, my own father training, and then now me too. You couldn't even give me, and you know that I don't plant plantain in the city. But everybody thinks that you are in the city, you are picking money on the streets, and therefore you must be sending home. So in essence, therefore, what I will say, the informal taxation, scourge in our environment is just beyond the formal taxation tax that we pay. You pay tax by several other means, and that's when you now talk about low tax collection. That these are issues that mitigate against effective tax collection in our environment, and government should do well to start addressing some of these critical issues in order for us to see the wood for the trees. I think, like I said, you said quite, this is a thesis. I've just done an overview, and I think I'll throw the floor open for interventions. Thank God we are not too many, but feel free if you have a question to ask or clarification that you need, or even a contribution in an area you consider necessary. Thank you very much. Any questions? Any comments? Second presentation, and that is to be taken by our host, Ite Ozobulu International Chief Openly is there for his first of the two presentations he's making for today. So let's give a hand offering to our host.
Good afternoon. It's already afternoon. Earlier I summarized the paper on artificial intelligence, the game changer. I think we have a fairly sizable class now for us to get to the second floor. And I title it again, The Future of Taxation, the Game Changer, Transforming the Informal Sector Through Taxation. Ladies and gentlemen, today we stand at the forefront of the revolution that will transform the fabric of taxation forever. A revolution that will harness the power of technology, innovation, and expertise to create a more inclusive and equitable tax system. Taxation game-changing era where data meets destiny. But to fully realize this vision, we must address a pressing challenge, transforming the informal sector through taxation, before we can realize the benefits of AI in taxation, we must transform the informal sector through taxation, because the informal sector contributes between 30 and 70% depending on the jurisdiction of taxation. And if they are outside the tax net, we are just kidding ourselves. The informal sector accounts for a significant share of our economy, and this transformation holds the key to unlocking unprecedented growth and prosperity. What are these informal sectors of the economy? The informal sector is characterized by the following: unregistered businesses and activities. Most of the businesses in Nigeria, even in Lagos here, are unregistered. The aboki I normally buy my groceries, it's not within any tax jurisdiction. But the money our locality pays to him every day can rival a big business. And these days he has a POS. So rather than go to the bank to withdraw money or to do transaction, you just walk across 2-3 lines to the aboki man, you buy, and but his business is informal. It's not registered at all. And the government, the IG, the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service doesn't capture him. So before we can talk about the benefits accruable by this AI-generated tax system, we must first of all transform that aboki and his lives into a formal economy. But there are huge challenges. It doesn't understand what you're talking about, so you have to educate him amongst other things. So the informal sector is characterized by unregistered businesses and activities, lack of tax compliance. It doesn't pay tax, they don't pay taxes. Even most businesses in all these markets, Alaba, International Trade Fair, etc., Ladipo, most of them are informal. Even if they registered blah 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 Nigeria Limited, they are still informal because the taxman cannot locate them. They have limited access to formal financial services. They can't go to the bank to borrow money because they don't have an accounting system or a set of audited accounts. They are vulnerable workforce with limited social protection, significant contribution to GDP, up to 30-40% in some countries. What is the AI-powered solutions that can transform this informal sector? One, streamlining registration and licensing processes. For that aboki as an example, you have to streamline his registration process. How does he formally register his business? If you don't streamline it, he wouldn't know what you're talking about, and he wouldn't be enticed to register. Providing real-time tax monitoring and automated audits, that's an AI-powered solution. Once he's registered, etc., AI can provide such things so that we capture his business. Offer personalized tax advice and the support, mainly to businesses. Enable data-driven decision-making for tax authorities. Tax authorities equally have to get educated on AI so that they can benefit maximally from it. Facilitate collaboration between tax authority, taxpayer, and technology providers. That's the linkage. AI has to facilitate communication, collaboration between the tax office, the informal sector, or even the formal sector, and the technology providers. How do we transition from
the informal sector to the formal economy. And what are the opportunities? Increased tax revenue and fiscal space, which is what actually is the gain. When you transit from the informal sector to the formal economy, everybody is captured, as it were, into the IGR space, tax net, we call it. And if we get people into the tax net, initially probably by offering them incentives to come in, then everything will be streamlined, and even the government can anticipate what is revenue, total collection and tax will amount to in a year, and they use it to budget. These are the things one have been expecting when the president inaugurated the Presidential Committee on Tax, on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms. But 4 months ago, during the 4th edition of the this national conference on April 16, I did say that the silence of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and tax reforms is getting too loud. And I think today I will say it's either getting loudest. Because after 4 months, I said that thing. It's like they are now below the radar. You inaugurated a committee about August last year, appropriated 5 billion to them to use to work. They set up, they got a lot of experienced hands, including a 4-level undergraduate from the University of Ibadan, a lady, to come out to become members of the committee. An undergraduate becoming a member of a committee that will rejig the tax system in Nigeria. It was then I came out and said that it's like these people are, I don't know. You don't do that. And sometime late last year, they came out with recommendations, about 20 recommendations to the government. We applauded it. But now, they are extremely silent. And the government is like avoiding or overlooking them and doing their business. Because this tax, windfall tax, it came from the presidency. I'm not sure whether it's one of the recommendations of that committee. But if you ask me, I will say it wasn't, because the committee has been giving us the impression that their work is to reduce the over 60-something taxes in Nigeria to a single digit, which I understand to be below 10. And every day we keep hearing from various government functionaries about new tax being created. The other day, Minister of FCT created one for secondary school or whatever. The CBN governor nearly created one, but when he saw that the masses are against him, he dropped it. So we need to tell the Presidential Committee to hasten their job so that we know the policy direction where we are headed for. I expect them to be thinking seriously in their report about formalization of the informal sector, so that many millions, tens of millions of businesses and the individuals will come into the tax net. So I said the transitioning the informal sector to the formal sector offers numerous opportunities: increased tax revenue and fiscal space, improve economic growth and job creation, enhanced business inclusion, enhanced financial inclusion and access to credit, better social protection and the labor standards, reduce poverty and inequality. But what are the benefits of formalization for informal sector executives? Because if the chaps we are trying to entice to the formal sector. If they don't see the benefits, they will even go down deeper. They won't come out. But if they see the benefits as it were, they will be glad to join the formal sector. So what are the benefits? Access to formal financial services and credit. When they formalize and they want to take their businesses to the next level, they can go to financial institutions, and the financial institutions will render financial services to them at a fee though, but it's better than not being able to access the financial services from these banks. Increase market access and customer base. When you formalize, you can do jingles, adverts, etc., etc. You won't be hiding again as it were. So your market will be increased. Your share of the market will be increased. Improve business operations and management. Enhance social protection and labor standards, and increase revenue and profitability. And this enhanced social protection and labor standards, like companies that are into NGS, that's Nigerian Exchange Group, formerly Nigerian Stock Exchange. When companies transit from private companies to the public companies, you have a lot of standards to meet up with. And those standards you are meeting up will definitely improve and enhance your businesses. The other day in our WhatsApp forum, because we have a WhatsApp forum, it also called Intellectuals Forum on WhatsApp, people were very critical about Dangote, that he's a monopolist amongst other things. Without being the mouthpiece of Dangote group of companies, I came out and told them, no, that Dangote has before it was 4 companies in the Nigerian stock exchange. Dangote Cement PLC, you have Dangote Sugar Refinery, and you have a NASCOM. And if you look at the accounts these companies produce, which are audited by top-tier auditing firms, you marvel at what he has achieved relative to a lot of businesses that have not transited to the public companies or to the stock exchange. Because there are various rules applicable in the stock exchange which you have to meet. Majorly on quarterly basis, you have to submit unaudited accounts though. But before you submit it, you must have, your team in-house must have done a lot of work. And at the end of the year, you have to submit audited accounts. So this is like the end point of formalization, getting into the big boys sphere, which is the Nigerian Stock Exchange. You have to get a lot of committees as executive, non-executive committees, like audit committee, like human resources committee, etc. And you get some non-executive directors to accept to become members of those committees. And the people are not paid anything, as it were, just allowances. But they will be giving you good services. Between 2012 and 2020, I was a statutory audit committee member of Continental Insurance. I know the services I provide to them when we go for meetings, quarterly meetings. They bring in their unaudited accounts on quarterly basis, and I will sit in my house for 1 weekend or 3-4 days, studying and having input. And when we go to the meeting, they will derive value from the input I have done, though I'm a non-paid staff. Just allowance, but it was hefty anyway. So these are the services that if all these informal businesses formalize, they will get all these services almost free of charge. But most of them will not, and they lose out, the government lose out as well. So, how can AI assist in formalization, which is the cocoa of the topic? AI will assist by simplifying the tax compliance and registration processes, like I mentioned, automated bookkeeping and accounting system. Automated bookkeeping and accounting system. My mentor, Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha, one of the richest men investors in the world, this said that accounting is the language of business. Anytime I say it, some of my friends and peers will be like, oh, is it because you are a chartered accountant, etc.? It is not. Accounting is the language of business. So if you are in business and your accounting system is not top range, it's not up to standard, you are kidding yourself. So AI will assist in automated bookkeeping and accounting systems so that you will know what records, good record keeping. At any point in time, you will know how your business is moving. But if you don't have a good bookkeeping and accounting system, you'll just be stumbling, thinking cash, sales is profit. Sales is not profit. That's why some businesses run themselves down without knowing. They will be seeing cash flow, they will think it's profit. There's a difference between cash flow and profit. So AI would automate all these things so that you will see how your business is being run, amongst others. Access to digital payment system and e-invoicing. Those are the how AI can assist in formalization as well. Data analytics for business insights and decision making. Virtual assistance for tax and regulatory compliance. I did say in our forum yesterday as well that my second son is doing his master's in data analytics. And after saying it, though he's a member of the forum, but he's usually not visible or reading things, I forwarded it to him in boss, and he thanked me because the data analytics is what are they supposed to be doing? To analyze data. Because like if some people here see, of recent I've been using AI in our WhatsApp forum. When I see a very lengthy article or so, and I don't have all the time, I just move it to AI. AI will analyze it in probably 10% of the initial volume, and I will read it, and I will be as knowledgeable as the person who took all his time to read. So data analytics is to analyze data. Balance sheet like the Dangotes of this world and the Zenith banks, etc. I normally collect the accounts virtually and the physical annual accounts. There are some that are 300 and something pages. Where do you start to look at them? I just look at them, etc., etc. But if we have this AI knowledge or system, AI can analyze all those 300 and something pages into a couple of pages, probably less than 10. And the chief executive, who doesn't have all the time to read volumes, will be better understand what it's all about and move on. So that is data analytics, to analyze data and reduce them to manageable level for you to comprehend and take decisions. Data analytics and the AI are the language of the future. Virtual assistance for tax and regulatory compliance. How do we now entice the informal sector executive to transition to this to the formal economy? tax holidays or reduced tax rates. The government is doing very well on that for now because turnover less than 25 million or thereabout, if your business is that small, you are exempted from paying company income tax. I hope I'm right, Ogasa. You are the Ogana, the rate cap chief. So government has been doing a lot there. But what is 25 million? 25, when they set this thing up, was many years when Buhari was in power, when we still have a good enough currency. 25 million these days is about 2 million a month. And what is 2 million a month? My malam, they are booking near my house that I trek in to buy 1 or 2 groceries. He must be netting more than 2 million a week. He must be netting more than 2 million a week. So if he has to transit to the informal sector, this benefit will not, he won't enjoy it because his business is already more than 25 million turnover. So that has to be upped so that, because as the currency is being devalued, a lot of some of these things have to be upgraded. But for the fact that it will not be patriotic enough for us, one would have said that our economy should be dollarized as it were, so that dollar is more of a stable currency. Well, we can't. Let me divert a bit. The governors who are supporting the policies of the current President Bola Tinubu administration are doing it for selfish purpose. Because before the naira was floated, they were getting probably 30-40% of what they are getting now. And the salaries have not been increased until lately. So when a governor that used to receive 1 billion or say 10 billion in a month now receives 20 billion, what are we talking about? He will support the policies because more money is coming into him. But if it was a stable currency that we have, it's a different ballgame. Let me continue. Streamline registration and the licensing processes, how to transit. Some of these things I'm saying now, Pat Modlim has covered them, and Tony will equally cover them. I'm just laying a background before we go to the technicals of the AI, artificial intelligence powered system. Access to training and capacity building programs. Before that, Aboki will understand what we are saying. One, he has to be trained. He has to go to capacity building programs. Subsidies for technology adoption and digitalization. Technology. We can't move away from technology again. We can never. Our fathers, forefathers, grandfathers, during their time, they are wearing this technology. But now, 20, 30 years ago, if we are presenting this course, nobody outside this room will see what we are doing. But today, tens or hundreds of people are viewing what we are saying here is because of technology. Ditto for the digitalization. You can't expect a tax authority now to do their work manually like it used to be. When I started work in private house in 1983, you go to tax work, manual everywhere, file everywhere. They can't cope again. But digitalization with the technology, everything will be at the press of the button. Even these days, you can be in your office and do your tax computation, forward it, etc., and get tax clearance. There's a company in Victoria Island that I assisted 2-3 weeks ago for tax, a new company coming up, finance related, for tax a clearance certificate. I didn't leave my house. The company didn't send any documents by courier to my house. I didn't go to the office. Didn't go to tax office. Though I contracted it to a good friend of mine because I'm retired. So when a lot of my friends insist that I must do something for them, I will tell them I find younger chartered accountants who are still on the job to do it. So I contracted a good friend of mine. His office is in Ojota. My house is in Anthony. The office of the people we did the tax certificate is in Victoria Island. And the tax office they initially used is in Ikeja. None of us left our houses, and within 4 or 5 days, the tax clearance was forwarded to them, and they were happy. This is digitalization. It wasn't in those days, Oga, that I will come to your office and harass your secretary to give me tea. Because that time there wasn't digital. I have to go to the tax office, and if you get to the tax office, they bring your files, etc. But these days, you don't need it. It's technology that is working. Let's move. Recognition and certification of programs for formalized businesses. Yeah, these days when people do a couple of weeks program, they get certified and they showcase their certificates. So when we transform this informal sector to formal sector, those people that are formalized will get a certificate, they've attended this course, they can do this, etc. Those are the incentives. And all these businessmen, traders majorly, would like to put it in their offices that they have attended because this is my certificate. By embracing this game-changing moment, we can increase revenue, which is where government is more interested in, to increase revenue, to increase the tax net. The tax net number of people or businesses are into the tax arena. Because if you are not into the tax arena, like most informal businesses, government can't trace you. Though they can trace you indirectly for indirect taxes like VAT. If you go to a pharmaceutical shop to buy something or to buy grocery in one of these malls, you will pay VAT. If we use telephone services, you will pay VAT. Even banks, they charge VAT. But we are talking about the direct taxes. Oga mentioned that there's a difference between payee and personal income tax. Yes, payee is just for those people who are working in a formal organization that before you get your salary, your tax is deducted. But for these informal sectors, you have to articulate what your tax position is and you pay it. It's not payee. Increase revenue and fund public goods and services. Taxation is actually for government to get revenue to fund social services amongst others. But in Nigeria, everybody knows it, that most of the money by government is not used for social services. They use it to buy SUVs, the one that I don't know the pronunciation, whether it's a yacht or whatever, that they used to cruise in the ocean, to renovate or reconstruct or build vice presidential house for 21 billion, to carry out a Lagos Calabar coastal highway for 15 trillion, to buy presidential jets, which today in various WhatsApp forums, I understand that 3 presidential jets have been seized in Europe, amongst other things. These are not what taxpayers' money should be used for. Personal aggrandizement and excessiveness, throwing rice at poor people. They don't know I'm poor, but since Buhari time they started sharing rice, I haven't received a cup. There was one day I called the secretary of my estate that I hear rice has come. Can I come and take? He said, I better don't near there. That is not for my category. I said, but I'm a retiree without a monthly pension. He said, that is your business. You're a landlord, so don't come near. So what are we saying? The issue of using rice as palliative to distribute to the poor masses, that's not governance as far as I'm concerned. I prefer, Madam, I know you'll be happy I'm praising your governor. I prefer what Governor Soludo of Anambra State is doing today. He distributed palm seedlings, I don't know what they're called, and other ones, even, etc. And for the palm, before the palm will start fruiting, it will take 4, 5, 6 years. And it will probably be there for the next generation and the upper generation. So that is how government should be looking at empowering people. Long term, like I said, I'm a mentee of Warren Buffett. His investments is long-term investments, not today. Give me a bag of rice today. With my household, the next 2-3 months, it's finished. But if you show me how to make the money by these seedlings Soludo is distributing throughout Anambra State, in the next 5 years, give it 10 years maximum, probably Anambra State will be exporting will be exporting palm oil, and even some investors will set up a refinery, palm oil refinery, to be refining it. That is what government should be doing, not anytime you shout palliative. And even the palliative of rice, 20 trucks per state. I understand some states say they haven't received anything. Anyway, let's not go too much into politics. Enhance financial inclusion and reduce poverty, and improve governance and transparency, as if I knew. We have to improve governance. We have to improve transparency. Federal government shouldn't be saying that they give the states 20 trucks or whatever. And the states are, some governors are saying, erroneo, erroni binalayo. There has to be transparency. If you move something from Abuja to Oyo Ibadan, it has to get there. Not for the newspaper people, oh, we have moved, and anyway. And AI will play a crucial role in boosting tax revenue. That is the cocoa, boosting tax revenue. Like Mackenzie said, AI can increase tax revenue by up to 20% through improved compliance and reduced evasion. AI-powered system, this is by OECD, AI-powered tax systems can reduce administrative costs by up to 30%. So if you are increasing by 20% the revenue and you are reducing costs by 30%, in effect you've increased by 50 or more percent. Then this is by IMF quotation. AI can help identify and address tax gaps, leading to increased tax revenue and improved fairness. Examples from other jurisdictions, which I quoted earlier in the morning. Kenya Tax Authority uses AI-powered system to detect and prevent tax evasion, resulting in a 25% increase in revenue. Source, Kenya Revenue Authority. India's GST system uses AI-powered analytics to identify and address tax gaps, resulting in a 15% increase in revenue. And the source is GST Council, meaning Goods and Services Tax Council in India. Let us seize the moment in Nigeria and join the big boys with AI-powered systems so that we can raise the revenue and reduce costs. Let us harness the power of technology and innovation to transform the informal sector. Let us create a tax system that is fair, efficient, and inclusive. The future of tax is a game of innovation, and AI is the ultimate catalyst. Together we can make a difference. Together we can create a brighter future for all. It's a win-win situation. Latest development in task technology, automation of task processes and compliance, advanced data analytics for task planning and risk management, AI and machine learning ML applications, cloud-based task software and digital platforms, blockchain technology for secure task transactions. What are opportunities of AI in taxation? Enhance accuracy and efficiency in task calculations and compliance, improve task planning and optimization, increase transparency and fairness in task assessment, transparency and fairness in task assessment, automation of routine tasks, freeing up time for strategic advisory work, and better identification and mitigation of task risks. These are a bit more technical to the informal sector, but with education, they will catch up. There are challenges, like I mentioned earlier in the morning, of AI in taxation, potential job displacement for some tax professionals. The other day, about 2 weeks ago, in Anthony Village, I physically went to one of my banks. Before, if you went there, when I have my red goatee there, I would just tell them, elder statesman, let me get served, and they will be sure. They don't know, because I normally put this. They don't know where I'm coming from. They will clear line and I enter. But 2 weeks ago or so, when I entered there, everywhere was scanty. Apart from the tellers that we are about 6 or 7, the bank customers were less than 5. I started asking them, what's going on? They say, yeah, these days people use POS, so they hardly come to bank. I restrained myself from telling them that their jobs are on the line. Because the bank can't keep paying you when you are no longer productive as it were, or that you are not, there's overload of staff. They were actually lobbying me using sign language for me to come and patronize their tail, that's the tellers. So what are we saying? Automation. When AI automates tax services, even the people working in tax authorities, we have to go and look for jobs elsewhere, amongst other people. The Uber I took today, because anytime I enter Uber or go somewhere, I keep chatting people to have an idea of what's going on. He told me he started Uber service about 4 months ago, and he was driving for somebody before then. Probably the person he was driving for is now working from home, as it were, and doesn't see the need for a driver. So this young man bought a Kia also. He said he bought Kia about that 4 months ago for 1 million. But if you go back now, it will be probably 1.5 million. So what are we saying? Job displacement. Because of technology, whoever is working for doesn't see the need to have a driver who he will be probably using once or twice in a week to go somewhere and be paying him. And the driver will be complaining. And now that the salary has moved from 30 to 70,000, the person can afford to just use Uber to go and do his or her work once in a while and use technology, be in his house or her house, and be surfing technology. So AI, when it comes, there will be massive displacement. There will be massive displacement, but the benefits outweigh those ones. So challenges, potential job displacement for some task professionals. Need for significant investment in technology and training. Yeah, before you can repeat, you have to invest. just like my able governor is doing now. All those people that he has given and is free of charge, they divided it into kindreds. My kindred got, but smartly, they said that the day of the distribution, they won't give to his people who come for the meeting that we get. And I looked at transporting myself from Lagos here to Ozobo and back to just get palm seedlings and other things. I say let it go. But the point is that those people who inherited those things will most likely vote the governor back next year. This is what we call good governance, not being on the radio and be talking jargons that you have done this, when you haven't done. So this is what it is. Government should see how, not today, not distribution of rice, I come back to it, see how to give assistance to people. Think long term, not short term. Let's get back. AI need to significant investment and technology. That was what I was saying. Before you can get the benefits of AI, you have to invest massively in technology. Ensuring data privacy and security, addressing ethical concerns around AI decision making, ethical concerns, managing the impact of AI on the tax profession and security and the society. What are the benefits of networking with professionals in the tax industry, which is what we are doing here, but most of them prefer to be on virtual basis. Staying up to date, staying updated on latest trends, technologies and the regulatory changes. Sharing knowledge and best practices with peers. Sharing knowledge, nothing like it. Building relationships with potential clients, collaborators, or mentors. Assessing new business opportunities or partnerships. Those are what you learn by collaboration. Enhancing professional development and career growth. Participants will benefit from networking by connecting with fellow professionals, thought leaders, and industry experts, and gaining insights into the latest developments and the innovations in tax technology and AI applications. Any impact of AI on taxation in Nigeria? Yes. The impact improve efficiency. AI can automate tax processes, reduce manual errors, a lot of manual errors, and increase processing speed. Nothing like it, speed. I did say the other time that if I see an article of 10 pages and I don't have all the time, I just move it to Meta AI on WhatsApp. And within, I don't know how they do it, and within a couple of seconds, not a minute, everything will be tabulated. Initially, when I started it, I thought they were just the booger. So I read the summary and went and read the detailed article, and I saw that AI highlighted the silent points. So it's not even 8th wonder of the world. It should be the first wonder of the world now. The other first 7 will now take their after AI. Enhance compliance. AI-powered tools can help identify and prevent tax evasion. Tax evasion again. The second edition of our conference here was on tax evasion in Nigeria. We did a very good job then, and AI, if Nigeria adopts it, will significantly reduce tax evasion, ensuring greater compliance. Data analysis. AI can analyze vast amounts of data to identify patterns, trends, and insights, giving informative insights into tax policy decisions, risk assessment, and audit selection. Digitalization. AI can facilitate the shift to digital taxation. In Nigeria now, the taxation, like I explained about the tax clearance, it has been digitalized to some extent. From your room or office, you can do a lot of things now. It wasn't like that many years ago. Reducing reliance on physical records and increasing transparency. Or of capacity building. AI can help develop skills and expertise in tax administration and compliance. Revenue growth. AI can help identify new revenue streams and optimize existing ones. Taxpayer experience. AI-powered chatbots and virtual assistants can improve taxpayer engagement and support. Fraud detection. AI can help detect and prevent tax fraud, reduce revenue loss. Regulatory reporting. AI can facilitate timely and accurate regulatory reporting. Economic growth. AI can contribute to economic growth by promoting a more efficient and effective tax system. Like I said the other time, there are challenges also to consider before you decide whether to get into the train of AI-powered tax system. Infrastructure. Nigeria's tax infrastructure may need upgrades to support AI adoption. Data privacy. Ensuring the security and privacy of taxpayer data is crucial. Skills gap. Tax professionals may need training to effectively utilize AI tools. Massive training. Digital divide. AI may exacerbate existing disparities in access to technology and digital literacy. Overall, AI has the potential to transform taxation in Nigeria, but careful planning, implementation, and addressing of challenges are essential to maximize benefits. These, like I said, are what people like us have been looking from the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms. But I quite understand they might be having some challenges, because whatever they will do, especially those ones that will affect changing the statute, the tax laws, they have to pass through the Senate and the National Assembly. And you know what that means. If you are now telling the senators that yesterday, one I read, I don't know whether it's true, of one senator from Kano, that his monthly take home or monthly salary is 21 million naira. It was viral yesterday. So if the committee now says that people earning up to 20 million and above in a year, in a month, their tax rate should move to 40–50%. That report most likely will not see the light of the day with the current members of the National Assembly we have. So they have some issues, but the point is that they are not coming out to tell us what the issues are. Anyway, AI will revolutionize taxation in Nigeria by automating compliance and reporting, enhancing data analysis for improved tax auditing and fraud detection, optimizing tax collection and revenue generation, improving taxpayer engagement and support. That is very crucial. Improving taxpayer engagement and support. You have to support taxpayers, you have to engage them. Facilitating real-time calculations and payments. AI adoption is equally crucial for corporations and individuals to remain relevant, as it improves efficiency and productivity, enhances decision-taking with data-driven insights, enables innovation and competitiveness. We did a 5th edition of the conference was on competitiveness, the role of taxation in global competitiveness, a case study of Nigeria. And the summary was that Nigeria is lagging behind. That was what we did 2 months ago, June 13. And today, AI is equally reminding us of innovation and competitiveness. If you are not competitive, you lose out. I was reading the other day, yesterday or 2 days ago, that Nigerian ports are no longer as competitive as the ones in Republic of Benin, Togo, and Ghana. And most businesses are moving their cargo through those ports. So we have to be very, very competitive, which is what is happening about some businesses relocating outside Nigeria. People are thinking it's about politics. It's not politics. They have seen the reports that Nigeria is no longer competitive and they are moving to better climes in the West African coast. We have to be very competitive. If we are not, we lose out. Support business growth and scalability, fosters adaptability in a rapidly changing environment. Africa, particularly Nigeria, is lagging behind in harnessing AI's potential due to, one, limited infrastructure and resources, skills gap and talent shortage. Most of our youth, including some of them that are here, are already thinking of migrating outside Nigeria in the next 12, 18 months. So when we lose our talents, it's a problem. We have to retrain. And those ones you are retraining, their focus is not even when you finish retraining them, they will work here. Their focus is Canada, United Kingdom, United States. And the second will continue like that. I read again in the social media yesterday, the government is trying to woo back medical doctors that are already in developed countries. I just read it and I laughed. It cannot be. Because the money the person will be receiving there, by the time you translate it here, it will run into millions and no government will pay that. We have a big problem. Data privacy and security concerns. We mentioned the regulatory frameworks and policy gaps, digital divide and inequality. AI's transformative impact on Nigeria, on taxation in Nigeria, will automate routine tasks. It's like re-emphasizing, potentially displacing some jobs, enhance data analysis for improved tax compliance and auditing. Data analysis, very, very vital. Improve taxpayer engagement, we said it, increase efficiency, generate new revenue streams, and optimize existing ones. However, it's essential to address the challenges and ensure that AI adoption is inclusive, equitable, and benefits all stakeholders. Wow, conclusion. That's a good one. The future of taxation, the game changer. How is AI revolutionizing the tax landscape? Wow. That's what we're saying about technology. Must have been NEPA. Okay, NEPA must have brought light. Ladies and gentlemen, today we stand at the threshold of a revolution that will transform the fabric of taxation forever. A revolution empowered by AI, which will harness the power of data, innovation, and expertise to create a more inclusive, efficient, and equitable tax system. Taxation's game-changing era, where data meets destiny. AI is not just a tool, but a transformative force that will revolutionize the tax landscape. It will identify and address tax gaps with unprecedented precision, detect and prevent tax evasion and with advanced analytics, simplify tax compliance and registration processes, enhance taxpayer services with personalized support, optimize tax revenue collection with predictive modeling. The impact will be profound. Increased tax revenue and fiscal space. Most countries abroad don't have crude oil and natural resources. They depend on taxation. Why can't we in Nigeria? This crude oil has made us too lazy. But if we can transform the informal sector into the formal sector, the tax will quadruple probably, and Nigeria would have readily available revenue to meet its services. Right now, probably for political purposes, the government is relaxed on tax, and but expenses must be met, which is why every now and then they resort to either the CBN printing money without value, which is called ways and means. A big part, ways and means. Alternatively, during Buhari time, cash flow used to come from China. I don't know what has happened. This era is either World Bank, IMF, or AFDB. We are setting up our youth who are already migrating outside for a doomsday, because those monies or those foreign debts got to be paid. During Obasanjo era, with Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala as the finance minister, Paris debts were paid off. But today, it's accumulation of debts, which is wrong. Government shouldn't be too lax on taxation. They should smart up. When they set up this presidential committee, I thought that was the focus. Get people to pay adequate tax, but they have to be very transparent and accountable so that people see where their taxes are going into. I give another personal example. I live in Anthony. Been living there from 87 to 94. When the landlord sold the house without telling me, he thought I can't pay. 2-story building, 6 flats. I went to Sulere to rent an apartment. But Sulere, with due respect to residents of Sulere here, it's not where I should be staying. So in 99, I came back to Anthony, 99 to date. And luckily, I bought the house, so no more leave, no transfer. But what am I saying? A month or a month and a half ago, I went to the bank to willingly and happily pay for LUC, land use charge, because I saw what the governor is doing with our money. The roads in the entire Anthony village now and the gutters are being reconstructed. For the first time in 25 or 30 something years, I started staying in Anthony. That is what government should be doing. If I didn't go to the bank to pay for the land use charge, nobody will trace me. Even if they trace me, what can they do? But when I got the bill, actually, last year I didn't pay because I wasn't very happy. But this year, when they started doing a lot of things, they gave me the last year's bill and this year's bill, and I willingly went to the bank, smiling and paying it. So this is what government should do. Let the taxpayers see how their tax is working, so that they can willingly pay some of these things, rather than, because I did say that if Nigerians don't want to pay tax, there is really nothing government can do, because the all these prisons they have renamed the correctional centers already filled up, so you can't move more people inside there. Anyway, so the bottom line is that government can optimize revenue collection using AI, but the taxpayer has to be taken into consideration. The taxpayer must see where his money is going into. The impact will be profound. Increase the tax revenue and fiscal space, improve economic growth and job creation, enhance financial inclusion and access to credit, better social protection and labor standards, reduce poverty and income inequality. AI will also enable real-time task monitoring, very crucial, automated updates and personalized task advice. It will empower tax authorities to make data-driven decisions and taxpayers to navigate the tax system with ease. A lot of taxpayers are confused because the tax laws are very, very technical, jargons. And part of the reason why many of them are not enthused about entering into the formal sector. But if they handhold people like us, they can get it done. The future of taxation is not just about compliance, but about collaboration. AI will facilitate a new era of cooperation between tax authorities, taxpayers, and technology providers. In conclusion, let's embrace the game-changing era where data means destiny. Let's harness the power of AI to create a better future for all. Okay, I have my reflection again, which I've already said the other time. Just like my Santana car, which was a symbol of hard work and dedication. Let us strive for excellence in our own endeavors. Let us embrace the opportunity presented by AI and work together to create a future where taxation is no longer a burden, but a catalyst for growth and development. A future where data-driven insights and expertise come together to create a more inclusive, efficient, and equitable tax system. Thank you for giving me your ears. Chairman, I'm done. I can take questions, but just know that I'm not very technical. Where is Alemba? Leo, any question I can't answer, you answer it for us. Thank you, sir.
Please let's give our host, Chief Ijeze, High Chief, a round of applause. You know, it's always very practical when making his presentations. Talking about AI, y'all reminded me, I think last year, during the Buhari's currency and the former CBN governor. I think it was your co-banker now. Here we worked in Zenith. Emefiele. When the currency change occurred, we had a retreat at Transcorp, Tasapi Tribunal. And UBA has this teller, machine. And that was the first time I saw that not the ordinary teller we see. That teller, will you put your old currency, it counted the old currency, created, asking for your bank account, you automatically, and you see the alert, your account is credited. Then you now want to take the new currency. The same, machine at Transcorp. It takes your currency, counts it, tells you the amount, what you want to do, what's the account, you press your account, you are credited. Then you want new currency, you press the button, the new currency, comes out. I don't know why they don't replicate it across. And that's the issue about, when you were talking about AI, my mind flashed to that, technology, very, very, beautiful. And for us, generally, not just, for tax administration, even big multinational entities, it makes, a whole lot of sense. You spoke about limited access to finance as a bane for small and micro businesses, low capacity and training for available workforce. How do you organize them to be able to optimize you know, their operations and get the result that they require, providing real-time mentoring. Because government, they will have a small and medium-scale enterprise development agencies. How much have they penetrated? I spoke about being involved some years ago with an association with Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, NASIMA. We tried to do some kind of communication and mentorship in terms of record keeping. Then also spoke about the silence of Tax Reform Committee on the economy, which of course is in their streets. Issue about talking about reviewing our tax laws. I've had the privilege of being involved in tax reform in Nigeria about 2 or 3 times. In 1991, I was Assistant Secretary, Technical of Professor Emmanuel Edoze's committee. And then when the white paper was issued, I was the Secretary of the committee that drafted the tax law. I was Secretary of the committee that drafted the current personal income tax law, as we have it in 1994. But one that was one of the last assignments I carried out while in service in FRS was issue of rewriting Nigerian tax laws in plain English language. You find that when you have an old wine jar, you don't wash it. Maybe you've exhausted or partially exhausted the wine that is there. You put new wine into it. The new wine cannot taste like a new wine because you have not washed the keg. So the drafting Nigerian tax law in plain English language involved to rewrite Nigerian tax laws. And so the challenge you have is that you're trying to use a different language from the language. If you look at all the amendments since 1961, you have SITA 1961 and then SITA 1979. They are practically not too different. But when you now, the drafting style now is completely different from what it was in 1961, in 1979. And therefore, we are using the current drafting style and drafting over the same, the old law that was there. There is no harmony. So they said, okay, let's rewrite Nigerian tax law. We spent so much resources on it. And the issue was to have an income tax law separate from tax administration provisions. And a number of countries have equally done so. Kenya, Tanzania, Zambia, they have all done so. They have all gone far. But we are still stuck in the mud in Nigeria. Rewrite it. Don't guys continue to amend this old law. Then talking again about the impact of AI, I'm a member of the advisory committee of Center for South African Transition of IBFD in Amsterdam. We were in Kenya in May. The moment I filled my form for visa to go to Kenya, since that time, that was since May, I get alerts from Kenya Revenue Authority. I get alerts from Kenya Revenue Authority about current issues. Just remember, it was visa I applied for. I didn't apply to come and be a Kenyan resident or to come and start paying tax in Kenya. But there is that linkage between Kenya Revenue Authority, their immigration control, everything, the database, everything flashing on the dashboard. So I don't know if it's possible for you to escape, paying tax, in Kenya. Fine issue about real-time monitoring is critical. Offering personalized support is also key. Facilitating communication between the tax office and technology providers. I don't know, though FRS have been trying, but at least if they have gone, some of us retired this year were engaged to go and do mentoring. And mine was on tax administration, related issues. And some of the things was trying to teach, the staff. That, for instance, we talk about in FI, probably don't, they need to know what exactly is the purpose of a permanent note jacket. Because it is permanent note jacket, in FRS 5 jacket is a memo and article of association, certificate of incorporation. Reply to standard question here. Is it only at the time of opening the file that particular file becomes relevant? Some of them don't even know that there is a difference. That is not only those things that should be there. That in the course of your reviewing annual accounts and returns of companies, and there are information of a permanent nature, you don't have to leave it in that annual jacket, because once the file gets bulky, you close that particular volume and go and put it in the archives. The information, even though of an enduring nature, is lost in that annual jacket. So some of these things were learned, not through some of them may not be through classroom listening, but through practice. So there is therefore need for training and retraining, not just for tax authorities, but also for even tax consultancy outfits. Communication between tax office and technology providers is key. Certainly I believe they're still doing so. Then the silence of the Tax Reform Committee, they said the work is, we're not now hearing what is going on. I know our own, we did it for almost a year, from July 2002 to July 2003. But there were regular feedback. We're scarcely hearing what is going on about this one. Do we expect the Tax Reform Committee to think about how to formalize the informal sector? How do we formalize the informal sector? And the work there is quite critical, and it has to do with, because some of them are so scared that the taxman will scoop all their tax revenue. So there is need to sensitize the informal sector about proper keeping of records, so that if the records are kept properly, there may not be too much to fear about paying tax. Of course, access of digital payment platforms, virtual data analytics are all very key. Virtual assistance and regulatory compliance for taxpayers. I think this thing was started on a pilot, but I don't know to what extent now that has happened. At least these small, business and micro businesses, to what extent? Like Ghana has gone very far ahead of what we are doing in Nigeria, and I think even during the time I was in service, we were doing this with WATAF, West Africa Tax Administration Forum, we had programs in Benin, and went to see the offices, Cotonou, we went to Lome, Togo, we went to Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, we went to Bamako, Mali, and so on and so forth. And we're seeing, even Senegal, we visited their offices, and particularly I want to emphasize, those Francophone countries, have gone further than we in the Anglophone countries in doing taxpayer, enlightenment, and I think we need to take a cue, from them. Minimum turnover threshold, fine, it is also in place. But part of the problems we have in Nigeria is that we don't need, provisions that have been there for donkey years.
We'll continue to take, like I said, pouring new wine in old skin bottle. Those provisions are there, and we're saying we're making amendments without recourse to the fact that the amendments we are making in 2024 have some link with some provisions already in the existing provisions in the law. So we're just dumping, an amendment, into the law without looking at existing provisions that have linkage. And we saw quite a lot of all that in the course of the 6 years stint I had at Tax Appeal Tribunal. And it is not good, and I hope we'll be talking to them, and then they need to do something very quickly about that. The issue about streamlining provision for licensing purposes, yes. Access to training and capacity building. Issues about recognition and the certification of training programs, tracing informal businesses through formal entities that they deal with. Artificial intelligence can improve tax compliance by at least 30%. You equally spoke about KRA, Kenya Revenue Authority, that uses artificial intelligence to improve tax compliance. Issue about tax technology, quite key. And when you now spoke about challenges, you spoke about potential job displacement, investing marketing in technology, managing the professionals, and artificial intelligence, regulatory changes, relationship building, professional development and innovation. And AI can, of course, improve, prevent tax evasion, new revenue streams, can be explored and developed. How, to what extent? Because there are businesses that are springing up. Do we know all about such businesses that are springing up that can be taxed? Of course, people need to see the benefits of tax that they pay. Revolutionizing support businesses with digital platforms. The issue about data privacy and security concerns are quite key. Enhanced data analysis for better tax compliance, and so on and so forth. And last but by no means the least, you spoke about unbundling the technical language of taxation. And that is the point I spoke to one who said, simplify Nigerian tax laws in plain English language. A project we started, but have been abandoned to rewrite. And to write it, because when you're amending our tax laws, even if you amend the tax laws using current drafting style and language, you are putting new wine in old wine bottle, because the other provisions that are linked have not been amended. Let me just give you just one simple innocuous example. The law, I can't put the present person, says an inspector of taxes can summon a taxpayer or consultant, but must give 7 days notice. They use the word 7 days notice. That's what is in the law. But a chief inspector of taxes does not require to give any notice. He just summons you and you must appear. Now, there is no such position called chief inspector of taxes in our lexicon again. We now talk about that position is equivalent of a senior tax manager. And for you to be a chief inspector of taxes in those days was a big office, but it's no more, it's a middle level position. I remember one chief inspector of taxes in Brussels. There were only two. There was time there was only one chief inspector of taxes in the whole Nigeria. And this man from Edo, I said, my name is Samuel Morufolo Ifida, the only chief inspector of taxes in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That was that 6-story building next to the near Western House, near the General Hospital. So he said, the only chief inspector of taxes in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, say what you need to say as quickly as possible, because you may not have an opportunity of entering this office throughout your entire career. It can be so intimidating. And the man is also tall. the man is also very tall. And the truth of the matter was, in those days, chief inspector of taxes is not 1 and 2 pence, but now it's 1 and 2 pence. But that provision is still there, that chief inspector of taxes can summon you without notice, and you must appear. But now, chief inspector of taxes is just a senior manager. There are so many people. Because after chief inspector of taxes, the next is deputy director and the director in those days. And those are the head office people. But now, chief inspector of taxes is a middle level officer. You have assistant director, you have the deputy director, you have a director working in the field. So why should such positions still be there whereas they are no more relevant? I think these are my quick takes in the presentation by our host on the future of taxation, the game changer. So let us once again give him a round of applause. He said he will be coming back, for the second presentation. So this one was happening. Okay, the third, yes.